Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yasharahla. All praises, glory, and honor to His only begotten Son, Yahweh. I want to send a Barakathai out to all my listeners, a Barakathai out to Israel, all the 12 tribes. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna check out some of these breaking news, these news stories that's going on around the world. So this first one we're going to start out with is coming from WKRG. I believe that's in Mobile. Let's check it out.
Surprise for many waking up to discover the removal of the Confederate statue of Admiral Sims in downtown Mobile. Mayor Sandy Stimpson ordered it, and crews worked overnight to make it happen. The city calling it temporary. News 5's Amber Grigley joins us now live downtown. And Amber, as you'd expect, a lot of mixed reactions to this.
Absolutely, Roseanne. You know, whether it was the right decision or not, it's a conversation that may never reach a common ground. But now the biggest questions are, what does this mean moving forward? Why this decision was made, and how to make sure this removal is permanent.
We're almost there.
For 120 years, the statue of Admiral Raphael Sims has been hovering over downtown Mobile.
I had to see it for myself.
An honorable statue for some.
When you take down something that's a heritage item and something that's been identified with the city since 1900, that should upset some people.
And a brutal reminder of the past for others.
It was a symbol to me. Every time that I come down Government Street, that there is a regime that was in place from a whole other era that did not like my people.
The removal of this monument was ordered by Mayor Sandy Stimpson on Thursday. His response on Twitter says, in part, moving this statue will not change the past. It is about removing a potential distraction so we may focus clearly on the future of our city. City Council member John Williams doesn't agree with how it was done, as he expressed how he felt about it on Mobile Mornings on FM Talk 106.5.
We had plenty of time to make that decision. We could have come in today and done it. I think the mayor knows that he would not have got approval. At least I believe so. Or he would have consulted us.
Williams goes on to say if the city is fined for the removal, it should come out of the mayor's personal funds.
I really think it ought to come out of the mayor's, and maybe he can get these guys that he's trying to avoid distraction with to chip in with him. They can both pay out of their personal.
The City of Mobile Communications Director George Talbot says the removal and current location is temporary. A temporary fix that sends an uneasy message to many.
Temporary is not going to be good enough. Because if you say it's temporary, then you tell me that our commitment to impressing upon this nation that black people should have a better future is also temporary.
At this time, it's unknown what is next for this monument, but the city is expected to make an announcement in the near future. But for now, in downtown Mobile, I'm Amber Grigley, WKRG News 5.
Thank you, Amber, and we want to know your thoughts on this topic. So we posted an unscientific Facebook poll asking, do you agree with the removal of the Admiral Sims statue? Here's how you voted. The majority of you, 72% said no, 28% said yes. Around town.
All right. So as you see, family, for over 120 years, they had that statue of white supremacy, up in your face, up in our face. And as you see, according to their unscientific poll, 72% said that it was wrong. So you had 72% of the participants that want to keep white supremacy alive. Like the gentleman that you saw with the Make America Great Again. See, family, that's what we have to understand. That is their definition of Make America Great. For you to be in slavery. For you to be up under their rule. For you to be up under their control. That's what Make America Great means. Because, if you don't believe me, let's just go back in history right quick on what made America rich. That was 400 years of free labor. 400 years of killing us. 400 years of raping our women. 400 years of selling our children. 400 years of us in hard bondage. That's what made America rich. And those are the days that they long for, once again. That's why they have all those movies like what is it, 12 Years a Slave, Gone with the Wind, and all of this other despicable movies that they come out with. These are the things that we have to understand, family. You know, and we want to thank WKRG for this story and this professional reporting that they do. You know, and we just going over these headlines, man. It's just getting a sense of what's going on around the world. So we're gonna go on to this next clip over here. All right. This next clip is from the Houston Police Department, faces calls for reform. So let's see what's going on down here in H-Town. And this story is brought to us from KHOU 11. So big shout out to KHOU 11. So let's hear what's going on down south in Houston as well, off the Gulf of Mexico.
Good evening to you. I'm Mia Gradney. People across the country are demanding justice and police reform. Anayeli Ruiz spoke with the Houston Police Officers Union president about changes in policing.
It's extremely disturbing, and it's abhorrent what that officer did, and the whole situation is abhorrent.
Houston Police Union President Joe Gamaldi says the union doesn't support or condone the officer's behavior in Minneapolis. Matter of fact, after the tragic incident, they told their officers if they see something wrong, they need to step up and speak up. He said his officers believe in being transparent with the public.
And we believe when an officer's involved in a shooting that the body camera video should be released. And for whatever reason, the chief of the department, Chief Acevedo, will not allow that to happen. We believe that'll breed transparency with the community.
A list of 8 policies that make up the trending #8Can'tWait campaign focuses on actions that could help reduce police violence. On the list, they have things like banning chokeholds, requiring de-escalation of situations, and requiring officers to intervene in order to prevent an excessive force incident.
A lot of these things we're already doing. It's just that this is popular on social media, or it's popular on Twitter right now. So people are saying, well, you need to do all these things, but they're not stopping to ask, how many of them are you already doing?
But there are some things on the list that Gamaldi said are not reasonable and put his officers in danger.
Because think about it, if someone is robbing you at gunpoint and they shoot you, do you think you really want us to wait and say, I'm going to shoot you now, or do you want that officer to engage and save your life?
Currently, there is an independent police oversight board, something Gamaldi says the union does not oppose. They're also willing to sit down with local leaders and discuss options to make any necessary changes.
We can all get in a room and decide what are reasonable changes that the public can accept and think is a good idea. What reasonable changes does the department think is a good idea? What reasonable changes do officers think are a good idea? And we can come to a solution.
Well, we tried to reach out to the mayor, but he was not available to us by our deadline. For a complete list of the 8Can'tWait list and some responses from the union, you can head to our website. Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
Good evening to you.
All right, man. So, once again, we want to thank KHOU for that report. But one thing that I want to point out to that family is what they said. They said they neither condemn nor condone the actions of the Minneapolis Police Departments. So in other words, they don't condemn it. You don't condemn a police officer putting his neck on a handcuffed man that hasn't been proved guilty in the court of law for almost 9 minutes. That is the very frightening dilemma that we deal with every day. These are things that you can't even believe. How can the police department not condemn that when you are supposed to be here to protect and serve? Because the Minneapolis Police Department definitely did not protect or serve George Floyd. They murdered him. But once again, it's just a clear look at the value that our lives have when you're dealing with certain people and certain departments. All right, family. We go shoot over here to Vallejo, man, on the West Coast, and let's see what's popping over there. This story is coming from, as you can see, KPIX, CBS, San Francisco Bay Area. So we want to give a shout out to them for this good story, for this story that they're reporting on. I'm a reporter myself, you know what I'm saying? So, I always support the journalists and the people that's bringing the truth and the news that we might not be able to catch ourselves. because sometimes we might not be familiar with different news stations and stuff like that. So I try to pick stories that's going to be relevant to all our my listeners and followers. So let's check this out, man. Let's see what goes on in Vallejo. Vallejo police killed looting suspect after mistaken hammer for firearm. Let's hear this, family.
Meanwhile, Vallejo's police chief is releasing new information about what led up to a police shooting during the looting of a Walgreens. It comes after another night of chaos in that city. The situation's so tense, the National Guard was called in last night. KPI X5's Wilson Walker on what the chief revealed about the shooting. Wilson?
Well, Liz, a couple moving parts here in Vallejo. They are, of course, all sort of working together. There have been 2 nights of unrest here. As you mentioned, the National Guard came in. And then today, the police chief finally divulged some details about a shooting that happened early Tuesday morning, something we had really heard virtually nothing about until this afternoon. The early hours of Tuesday morning, Vallejo police were responding to multiple reports of looting. Police Chief Shawnee Williams says officers confronted a group outside of a Walgreens when someone running towards a car stopped, dropped to their knees, and an officer saw what he thought was the butt of a handgun.
Due to this perceived threat, one officer fired his weapon 5 times from within the police vehicle through the windshield, striking the suspect once. Investigations later revealed that the weapon was a long 15-inch hammer tucked into the pocket of his sweatshirt.
Killed was 22-year-old Sean Monterosa of San Francisco. His family is now working with civil rights attorney John Burris, and some Vallejo residents were on hand today to reject the chief's description of the shooting.
Like I said, the police have been historically violent in this city.
And the city as a whole has now seen 2 nights of violence.
There was a sniper on the roof 2 streets over. We stayed in a hotel 2 nights in a row because of this. So I have an 8-year-old and all she heard was gunshots, and that's not how we want to live.
Jenny has been collecting the non-lethal weapons discharged by police during confrontations right outside her home. Those led to the brief deployment of the National Guard overnight.
Last night, the guards were placed in different areas to guard different areas. So they're not policing the city.
And Vallejo is now hoping for a de-escalation after the past 2 nights.
And I would assume that they would come back, I would hope, to protest again peacefully. But I don't want to see anybody getting hurt.
Okay, Andrea Borba was talking about the mission having a long history of violent interactions between the public and police. Well, Vallejo, certainly an example of that. It's something we've heard time and again today. A gathering underway at City Hall right now to honor one person who died in a violent interaction with police. We are expecting this gathering to grow. Now, there have been peaceful protests in Vallejo every day. The trouble has come along with the nighttime. That's something we've seen across the Bay Area. So what happens tonight, we don't know. We assume the National Guard is still standing by somewhere in case they are needed again. We will be here to follow what happens for you. We are live at Vallejo. Wilson Walker, KPIX 5.
Meanwhile, Vallejo's police.
So, as we see, family, the police killed another unarmed man, another unarmed brother. May he rest in peace. May the Most High have mercy on him, his family, and give them comfort. You know what I'm saying, in this tragic time in their life. And and what I find strange kind of about this story is you running from the police and then all of a sudden you're gonna stop and drop down on one knee. See, to me, that sounds like an excuse to justify killing this unarmed young man, our brother, Issachar. That's what's so surprising to me, but at the same time not surprising. You see? Because anybody running from the police, the last thing you're going to do is stop and drop down on one knee. Because number one, you're running because you don't want to go to jail. Number two, why are you going to stop down and drop on one knee when we all know the police have guns that's loaded with one in the chamber and they love to kill us? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves, family. It's enough of us falling for the okie doke. It's enough of us falling for their version of events. And as you see, this happened on Tuesday. And we didn't find out about it till yesterday, so they say. June 3rd, a couple of days ago. It's sad, man. It's sad. But let's go on to this other story. They say 7 people. This is another story from WKRG up out of Mobile. And 7 killed in mass shooting. Let's check this out.
7 people and a dog dead in North Alabama, victims of a mass shooting. It happened in a house in Valhermosa Springs, about 20 miles south of Huntsville. According to deputies, when they arrived about 11:30 last night, part of the home was on fire. The victims are all adults. Authorities say they have been to this house before on drug and domestic violence calls. There is no suspect at this time, but investigators believe this was a targeted attack and there is no danger to the general public. 7 people and...
All right. So we had 7 people, you know what I'm saying, that died in that situation, which is a tragic. That was 7 people too many. You know what I mean? We all know that one of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not kill. So it's just a tragic day when you know, when anybody dies, you know, let alone 7 people in one house, you know. So, you know, man, the times we living in, family, the times we living in, it's a tragic, you know, it's tragic. Let's go on to this next story. All right, this one is coming from RT News. France joins in with the global reaction to police violence. Let's see what's going on in France.
Riots in the US and discord here in France over racism within the police. The French government is vowing to throw the book at any officer who exhibits the slightest sign of racism.
We have to ensure that every fault, and there can be some, every excess, every word, including racist expressions, is investigated, ruled upon, punished, and I'm uncompromising on this subject because the requirements we have for police officers who are wrong is precisely to guarantee the serenity of the work of the entire police force and gendarmerie.
Adding fuel to the fire is this video showing a scene following an arrest in Paris that many have likened to what happened to George Floyd in the US. Police in Paris dispute the accusations, saying it was a complicated arrest of an individual who was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. The cry of no more has become much more vocal here in France. Over 20,000 people were gathered here on Tuesday to voice their anger over actions like this, and also the death of a black man while in custody in 2016, Adama Traore, a case his family say that is similar to George Floyd's, whose death by asphyxiation sparked days of violent protests.
They were put in chokeholds. Adama took the weight of 3 policemen on him. George Floyd took the weight of 3 policemen on him. They had the same words. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
I can't breathe was the slogan many carried on placards in the protest here, which had been forbidden by the authorities. Traore's family disputes medical reports that have exonerated the officers involved in his arrest, pointing to an independent report that they commissioned, which states that he, like Floyd, died of asphyxiation. The anger felt here by protesters was clear, and it wasn't long before that tension spilled over. The French government has been quick to react, pointing out that France is not a racist country and shouldn't be compared to the US.
There isn't institutionalized state violence in our country. I don't think we can say that. When there are incidents, when there are errors committed by members of police, As the Interior Minister has always said, there are investigations, and when they apply, sanctions when errors are determined.
The government has also called for calm, keen to point out the protest of Traore's death was banned for health and safety, not political reasons. But protesters say it's time France woke up to its own unspoken legacy of abuse and impunity.
I think that those who want to say that the French situation is not comparable to that of the United States are those who want to stifle the struggles here for justice. They are supporters of the system, those who do not want things to change, those who want things to continue, those who want, as has been the case for 40 years, systemic impunity for police and gendarmes when it comes to the inhabitants of working-class neighbourhoods.
Rallies against racism and police brutality are commonplace here, but Tuesday's protest with a sea of thousands and thousands of people is considered by some to have been a watershed moment. And the anger that was spilling out hasn't yet, it seems, been quelled.
All right, family. And so, we see what happened to our brother over there in France. May he rest in peace. May the Most High comfort his family during this difficult time. Even though that was 4 years ago, let me correct myself, we're still mourning. They're still mourning. My mother, she passed away in 2005, 15 years ago, and I still mourn every day, along with my pops being gone as well, So it's always a terrible and tragic thing, when we lose our loved ones, man. That's something that we'll never get over, especially when it's parents, because we come from our parents, and especially, when it's children, because like I said just a minute ago, we come from our parents. So it's just really and truly an unfortunate time. This next video wasn't in the lineup, but we're gonna go ahead and check this out from Bloomberg Quick Take News.
There has to be justice. There has to be protests. We have to be heard. We have to move forward strategically. We have to move forward smart. We have to move forward tedious, and we have to be together, man. How we doing it?
And there you go, family. All around the world, it's good, it's gaining worldwide attention. But we also know that the world has been aware of racism. The world participated in the transatlantic slave trade, where we were scattered to all four corners of the earth. That only happened to one group of people. So, now it's a time for reckoning. It's a time for the Most High to deliver His chosen people up out of this hard bondage, and up out of the oppression of our oppressors with their knee on our necks, worldwide, as you can see. So let's go on to the next story, family. This story is from Eyewitness News, ABC 7, New York. So shout out to Eyewitness News, ABC 7, New York. Thank y'all for bringing us this story. We really and truly appreciate that. The good quality work that all the journalists and things like that do. Thank y'all so much for this story. And family, let's see what's going on in New York. Okay? Buffalo officer shoves elderly protesters in video. So let's see what's going on.
New this morning, 2 Buffalo police officers have been suspended after disturbing video showed officers pushing a 75-year-old man to the ground and leaving him there bleeding. It's really hard to watch. This happened during a protest against police. The man is knocked down by 2 officers and several others walked right past him without helping. He's in serious condition in the hospital this morning. A spokesman for the police department initially said the man had tripped, but opened an investigation after seeing the video you just saw. The New York Civil Liberties Union released a statement overnight saying, in part, quote, city leaders need to take this as a wake-up call and seriously address the police violence. Governor Cuomo called the incident, quote, wholly unjustified and utterly disgraceful. He went on to say, quote, police officers must enforce, not abuse the law.
There you go, family. So they're not even showing respect for their own elders. You know, that clearly that elderly man wasn't no threat to him. And if you haven't seen the video, man, as soon as he hit the ground, blood started coming up out his head. Now, that's somebody's grandfather. That's probably somebody's uncle. That's somebody's brother. That's somebody's cousin. You know, I mean, you know, the policing has gotten out of control. You know, and we honestly talk about the police force, right? So what I'm gonna do right quick, family, as we take a moment to understand this, we're gonna look up the definition of force. Okay? All right, the definition of force. Remember, police force. Strength, 1. Strength or energy as an attribute of physical action or movement. He was thrown backwards by the force of the explosion. 2. Coercion or compulsion, especially with the use or threat of violence. They ruled by law and not by force. So as you see, they're ruling by force and not by law. Let's look at the verb. 1. Make a way through or into by physical strength, break open by force. They broke into John's house and forced every cupboard door with axe or crowbar. 2. Make someone do something against their will. She was forced into early retirement. So when you hear the definition police force, keep all these definitions in mind, especially the last one. Make someone do something against their will. So the police force is there to make you do something against your will, which is what? Obey their crooked laws that they have set up against you. And if you don't obey them, they're going to use force against you. That's why they're called the police force. We need to pay attention to the words that they use and the labels that they brand themselves with. Look up these definitions and understand what you are really facing. You see, they're here to make you comply by force. Okay? So big shout out to ABC 7 News New York, Eyewitness News. Thank you for that great story. And let's go on to this other one. And we got one more after this, family. All right. This one is coming from CBS News. Shout out to CBS News. Lawmakers raise concern over unidentified officers at D.C. protests. Here we go.
A group of Democrats from the Senate and House are demanding answers from Attorney General William Barr about unidentified law enforcement officers seen in Washington. The lawmakers are questioning federal response to recent protests. One of those lawmakers is Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy of Illinois. He is a subcommittee chair on the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. First of all, thank you for being here. And let's start off by just explaining why you think that this is a big deal.
Well, as you know, this is a time when we are basically asking for accountability, transparency, and oversight of our law enforcement authorities. Indeed, the unjust killing of George Floyd is in part because of a lack of that. So now to have protests over Floyd's death, where we basically have these uniformed officers who are not wearing any kind of agency indication or badge numbers, just basically looks like it's flying in the face of what we're protesting about. And it can lead to all kinds of abuse, including people impersonating themselves as law enforcement officers, as well as us or peaceful protesters not being able to hold anyone accountable if there's improper conduct by these people.
So the Attorney General actually addressed that issue, telling reporters on Thursday that special operations response teams from the Bureau of Prisons are used frequently in response to civil disturbances or natural disasters. And he also said that federal officers don't typically wear badges with their names on it. Why do you think it is so important that officers have to have this type of proper identification?
Well, at the least they should have badge numbers, even if they don't have their names, because we need to be able to know, for instance, if there's some kind of improper conduct by any individual, that person be held accountable. Without that information, it's almost impossible to do so.
So to that end, what information exactly are you requesting from the Attorney General?
Well, we are asking for different pieces of information, including what were the orders that would have led to these uniforms without the agency indicators or the names of the agencies on the uniforms, as well as the lack of the badge numbers. What were the orders that would have actually directed these officers to tell people that they are not allowed to identify where they're from? You know, a member of my office actually went down to the protest and took pictures of these people and asked of them these questions, and they refused to answer them. And then finally, we also asked, are there any private contractors among them, or are these federal employees? If they are private contractors, we need to know who they are as well.
And you've also asked Barr for answers by June 10th, less than a week from now. You also have vowed that you will continue investigating. How far are you intending to take this matter?
We're going to keep pressing. You know, right now these protests are continuing, and so it's very timely. We need to know the answers to these questions. A lot of my colleagues obviously have great interest, and our constituents and those who are in these protests obviously are alarmed that this type of situation could even arise.
Well, Congressman Krishnamurthy, thank you for joining us.
So as you see, folks, family, they got unarmed people with guns to shoot, kill, and beat you, and you won't even be able to identify them. Now, do you think that this was an accident? No. It was designed specifically for you, to intimidate you, to show force. See, they show you what they get to do and what you can't do. Because like I say, we just saw that brother, may he rest in peace, in Vallejo. They killed him with a hammer that was found in his pocket. But yet and still, they could come out with no identification on their uniforms and have loaded weapons, probably loaded automatic weapons, while you have your signs, your umbrellas, your megaphone, your bottled water, your backpacks. See, that's what you have. You'll never be able to win like that. So, you know, in closing, family, after everything that we done saw, all of these important stories, shout out again, once again, to CBS News. Let's listen to your president, who won the Potato Head of the Day award today on June 5th. Let's hear what your president had to sum it up, had to say about what's going on. Let's check this video out. This is another one from KHOU 11, Houston, Texas. Shout out to Houston, Texas for this great story. Shout out to KHOU 11 for this great story, this great report. And let's see what your president, let's see what your president had to say about this. Check this out. Remember, he got the Potato Head of the Day award, okay? So let's hear what he had to say, how he summarizes it.
And I really am suggesting, because if you look at Minnesota and the great success we had there and other places, I'm suggesting to some of these governors that are too proud in New York, I mean, you see what's going on there. Don't be proud, get the job done. You'll end up looking much better in the end. Call in the National Guard, call me, will have so many people, more people, than you have to dominate the streets. You can't let what's happening happen. It's called dominate the streets. You can't let that happen in New York where they're breaking into stores and all of the things. And by the way, hurting many small businesses. You can't let it happen. Equal justice under the law must mean that every American receives equal treatment in every encounter with law enforcement, regardless of race, color, gender, or creed. They have to receive fair treatment from law enforcement. They have to receive it. We all saw what happened last week. We can't let that happen. Hopefully George is looking down right now and saying there's a great thing that's happening for our country. There's a great day for him. It's a great day for everybody. It's a great day for everybody. This is a great, great day in terms of equality. It's really what our Constitution requires, and it's what our country is all about. I just want to finish by saying the same thing.
All right, family. It's not what your great country deserved, because your country isn't great. Okay? Your country was built off rape, robbery, and murder. You stole this land. You stole people from another continent. You murdered and slaughtered the indigenous people that was here. And you've been illegally occupying this land since you came over here, like a virus that won't go away. So nothing is great about this. It's an illegal occupation that's built on rape, robbery, plunder, and murder. This land over here is soaked with blood of the fallen. So, on that note, family, I just want to say a big shalom. You know, all praises to the Most High for letting us wake up this morning and be able to see this, be able to hear this valuable information that's going on around us. And I just want to say Barak Atah and Shalom.